Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Your Vibes Podcast. Everybody's got a vibe and a story to tell. Here's this one. I hope you enjoy. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Here we are again with another episode of Your Vibes Podcast. Got the new equipment set up. Miss Angela, you are the first one to use this equipment. Do you feel special?
I do feel special. I feel like I'm in like some seriously professional recording studio.
Well, you are. Yeah, this is it in the Dickson Insurance conference room here. This is our home and has been for a while, and I haven't been kicked out quite yet. I am looking for a studio. I think I've got a spot. I'm hoping to put it, but I can't divulge any details on that quite yet. But anyway, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate you coming in. I know you got a busy life and a store to run, so try not to take up too much of your time, but I would like to get your story and learn a little bit more about the bookstore and kind of how that's going and what made you go that direction. So, you know, like most of these other episodes, we'll kind of get started and you just start wherever you want in your life and what you were doing before the bookstore and kind of we'll work into that transition and then go there.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. This is it's a little nerve-wracking, kind of exciting.
Well, at least it's not live. I mean, tell people that it's not live, so we can just talk and do whatever we want to do.
You can edit if you need to. No, I'm excited that you're doing this podcast. I've been listening since you first started. I don't always listen when they come out, but I may do listen to 5 episodes at one time. So it's been great to hear all of your interviews with everybody, and I feel privileged to be able to be one of the people to tell their story. Absolutely. On Your Vibes. So thanks for having me. So I guess you want to start with how I ended up in Dickson?
Yeah, where are you from originally?
I was born in Naples, Florida.
Oh, well, okay.
And moved here. It's one of my favorite stories. I moved to Dickson on my 6th birthday.
Wow.
Now, my memory might be wrong, but in my memory...
somewhere around 6.
I was 6, and we celebrated my birthday in a Kmart parking lot somewhere on the way to Dickson. We stopped in... My mom's favorite cake was always the Pepperidge Farms coconut cake.
Oh, yeah, those are the best.
She loves those.
Yeah.
So that was my 6th birthday cake with a candle on the tailgate of my dad's truck on our way to our new home in Dickson, Tennessee.
That's a good birthday right there.
Yep.
That's awesome. So why the move? Why were you moving?
Well, my parents are both from Indiana, or my dad's from Indiana. My mom was raised in Kentucky, but was living in Indiana when they met. And they lived there when my brother was born. Not a whole lot. My dad was doing construction and carpentry and not a lot of work in Indiana at that time in that field. My grandparents were what we call snowbirds and spent every winter in Florida and had a winter home down in Naples. So that's how, he knew about Naples. And it was just in that time in the late 60s, early 70s was beginning to grow and hotels being built. So he moved to Naples, or they moved to Naples for the construction industry. Okay. And my mom used to tell stories about him. Like they would build the big hotels, and when they got the top floor set, not completely finished, they would put a palm tree on the top of the building to signify that was the top.
Okay.
And she always thought that was a kind of a
did
cool
the palm tree stay there?
Ceremonious thing that they did.
So that was like a gift to the house. Here's your palm tree.
Yeah. Like there's these were hotels, so they were, at that time, they're probably not tall compared to hotels these days, but they were the tallest buildings, and they would put a palm tree at the top.
How about that?
So that's one of my memories, but that's how they ended up there and lived there until I turned 6. And basically they had they had me, and grandparents were far away. It was a long drive from
Sure.
the tip of Florida to Indiana. So wanted to be closer to family, but still not enough work in Indiana. Didn't really want to get all the way back there. And my dad's favorite part of every trip to Indiana, or back and forth, was always driving through Tennessee. So that's how we ended up here. He wanted to live on the river. So when we came, I remember before my 6th birthday, we took a trip and came and we stayed at the Highland Motel.
Okay.
It was a lot different
Sure.
then, but we stayed there probably, I don't know how many days we were there, probably about a week. Our real estate agent was, oh gosh, I could have remembered his name until I started to say it, but I remember we had a real estate agent and he took us for days, like every day we would go. We went to Dover, we went to Erin, we went to all kinds of places closer to the river and just weren't finding anything. And I remember he was like, well, let me just show you a house here in Dickson. And so we went and looked at it. And when we got out of the car, my mom said that she knew it was the one. And that's how we ended up here.
That's a common story with a lot of people.
Yeah.
That come into Dickson is that, Corey said on the first episode, he said, when people come to Dickson, it just feels normal,
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Ron Runyon, the guy that bought a lot of property downtown. He was here and said he stepped out and was like, this is it. It's a very welcoming environment for sure.
It is. I mean, we hear that a lot in the bookstore. People who come in and we get people who come in and are doing that. We're looking for a house and they're like, I think we're just going to move here. I'm like,
Come on.
Welcome to Dickson.
Hopefully we can find a house for you.
I'm your welcoming committee here at Reading Rock Books. Anyway.
Yeah, and obviously we're getting a lot of people moving here, and the houses are, whatever price they may be. So I don't think that's stopping anybody from coming here. But so y'all move here, you find a house, your dad starts doing construction here? Or?
Yes, he was a contractor. He was a general contractor here for many years. Larry Price and Sons General Contracting. He didn't do a lot of. He built a few houses, but a lot of remodels and a lot of that kind of work, as opposed to from the ground up building. He was doing a lot of, these days we call it flipping houses. He flipped a few before flipping was cool.
Okay. So it was Larry Price and Sons. So you've got brothers, I guess.
I have brothers. I have a crazy kind of family. I have a half brother, who didn't live with us at the time. He did go to high school here. He moved in with us. He was living with his mom in Indiana. And then I have a brother who grew up here.
And they were just helping him out with the construction business? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you've moved to Dickson. You're living here now. Where in Dickson did y'all move?
Out on Few Lane, which is in, I saw the name of the subdivision just the other day and I thought, never knew that was the name of that subdivision. But it's kind of, where the Oaks is. Yeah. And where Dickson Athletic used to be. It's that subdivision back behind there.
Okay. It's a good spot.
It's between Brazel Avenue and Furnace Hollow.
Cool.
So, and my mom still lives there.
Does she? Mm-hmm. How about that?
Still has the house.
She's still loving it? Liking her choice to move to Dickson? Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so you're 6. You move here, you settle in, start going to school here.
Yep.
Making some friends.
First grade, yep. Made some friends. I remember, it's crazy how memory works. Like there are little snippets that you can remember. The first friend I think I made in Dickson was April Phillips.
Okay.
And because I remember meeting her standing on the line in the gym. They lined us up on the first day of school and she was standing next to me. And ask her what her name is or whatever. And she said her name was April. And I was like the month? And she said, yes, actually, my parents aren't very creative.
Was her birthday in April?
Her birthday was in April. So. And we're still friends.
Are you?
She lives in Cookeville now, but we're, during COVID, it's interesting. COVID, people ask you, what are the things that happened to COVID? And one of the best things that came out of the COVID year is this group text that my best friend, one of my dearest friends from high school, junior high, we met in 5th grade. She started this group text with all of our high school friends, all that, we used to spend every Friday and Saturday night at each other's houses, the slumber party crew. And we're still, like, every day, we're texting each other.
In the group text.
In this group text. My friends from high school and junior high.
Wow. Everybody doing okay?
Yeah. One of us has had COVID twice. And
oh, boy.
Yeah, and her whole family's had it. And those were actually kind of fun texts. They were pretty funny.
I can imagine.
She's trying to quarantine from her 4 boys. She has a husband and two and 3 sons. So there are 4 of them. And she's like, and she had it and they didn't. So she was quarantined on the, they have a 4-story house.
Okay.
It's an old house in New Hampshire at Exeter boarding school. And so she's like, I'm on the 4th floor. I just don't go downstairs.
Just hang out in the attic up there.
Hanging out in her bedroom. And she's like, my bedroom's never been so clean. Like, those were the funniest. You're not going to believe what I found. She's sending
under
us
the bed.
She's sending us pictures of things. And I'm like, it's sad because,
was she feeling
she's
okay?
Suffering.
I mean, how did that go?
Well, the first time she had it, it wasn't so bad. The worst part was not being able to leave the room and being quarantined and, the 14 days. When she got it the second time, it was pretty bad.
Down and out.
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't texting us and cleaning her bedroom that time.
Yeah, just take me out of the group text for a little bit.
Yes.
For 14 days.
Yes.
I'll be back.
Yes. Yeah, we were a little worried about her.
And so how long in between time 1 and time 2 did she get it?
Oh, that you would ask me that. I don't know. It was quite a while.
Okay.
I mean, it was like, I feel like she had it in maybe November, December, winter-ish, and then late spring, maybe,
okay.
Or something. It was a while. I don't know.
She's alive, though.
She's alive,
She's
though.
alive.
They're all alive. They all survived.
Okay.
We've
cool.
all survived.
All right, so everybody survived COVID. All your group text friends are good. So you're moving right along. You've met April, who was born in April. And let's say, you'll go through the middle school, get into high school. Where kind of in those years, or was it prior to, did you kind of fall in love with the books? Was that always a thing for you?
Oh, well, I mean, I've always been a reader, and I think it's important for kids to grow up in families that appreciate literacy. As a former teacher and reading teacher, you hear a lot about reading to children and how important it is to read to them every day. And that I didn't have parents who sat down and read to me every night. Which was when I was learning how to be a teacher. I was thinking, well, that's if that's the only way you're going to raise readers, what happened to me? That's weird. I remember learning to read in kindergarten. I remember before kindergarten, my parents, they didn't read to me every night, but we were surrounded by books. I remember in Florida, so I had to be less than 5 or 6, having a record player that you could play the record and it would go along with the, it'd beep, turn the page.
Yeah. Like the first edition audiobook or something.
Yeah, like the first edition audiobook. So I would read those books or, read along with them before I was reading. So my mom wasn't reading aloud to me every night, but I was getting read to. Like, she provided tools for me to fall in love with books. And I can remember spending afternoons doing that, and then I'd get the next book and put it on there,
So you have to buy the book and the
You're so young. You don't remember these things. They were little books, and in the back of the book, it would have the 45 record.
Okay.
And you put the record on there, and started, and it would tell you, open your book, and you would open it.
Open the book.
And they would read, and then it'd go beep, and you'd turn the page. So you knew.
And so that 145 record was just that one book?
Yeah, that one book.
Wow. Do you still have that?
I wish.
Those are making a comeback.
Yeah.
I think they need to make a full comeback. I know Zach's Music has a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
He's just selling like hotcakes right now.
Yep.
So
at that, from an early age, I fell in love with books. I remember my kindergarten teacher. There are two things I remember about kindergarten, and I went to kindergarten in Florida, in Naples, Florida. I remembered that, and I didn't figure this out until later, but my kindergarten teacher had cancer. Because one day she came in and took off her wig, and it freaked us all out.
I can imagine. Unexpected
it
surprise
wasn't
there.
until much later that it clicked with me. Oh, that's why she was bald. She had cancer.
Why did she take her wig off?
I guess she was afraid. I don't know. I assume maybe she was afraid it would fall off or slide, and she wanted us to know. I don't know.
Here's the deal.
She probably told us that she had cancer, and I didn't listen. I don't know. I was probably talking to my friend instead of listening.
April and you were just talking away.
Yeah, we were talking instead of listening. I don't know. So I remember that, and I remember that she had centers, and my favorite center was the one with the rocking chair and all the books.
Okay.
And you could go sit in the rocking chair and read. And that was where I either wanted to go there or wanted to go to the art center where you could make little people and fold the construction paper and make their arms and legs go boing, boing, boing.
That's awesome.
So art and books, those have always been two of my favorite things.
Any particular book that you thoroughly enjoyed as a small child?
Oh, gosh, you ask hard questions, Michael.
Well, make you think a little bit.
Make me think a little bit. Here's one. A collection of books that I bought, or my mom bought me. I didn't have my own money then, probably, at Volume 1 bookstore in downtown Dickson.
Okay.
When it was located where Ginger Hibachi is now.
Really?
Yep. It was a box set of A.A. Milne books. So it had Winnie the Pooh. It had House at Pooh's Corner. It had like 3 poetry books in it. And I loved that set of books. I don't know how many times I read those.
Wow.
I just this year bought the set for my son.
Same set?
Same set. Yep. And we try to keep it in the bookstore all the time because it's just such a great classic set of books. But so those were really special to me. And then Little House on the Prairie, I loved those books. I remember reading those in middle school. I'd go in and get the next one. Those and the Wizard of Oz books. Did you know that's a series?
I did not.
Yeah, there's a series of those, and I read all of those in middle school. Loved them.
Did they follow the movie pretty well? Or did the movie follow them pretty well?
The movie is really just the first one.
Oh.
There's more.
So she goes back to Kansas.
It's been a long time. I don't remember, Michael.
She get picked up by another tornado and whisked away.
No, I'll have to go back and reread them. But I remember those. And then, of course, Beverly Cleary. Beverly Cleary passed away earlier this year. I probably shouldn't say this on a podcast, but my best friend, my college roommate was in town. And we were enjoying some of the nightlife of downtown Dickson. Mm-hmm. We went to Furnace for a while, and then we ended up down at House of Brews, which both very fun places to be. And we were coming home, and I pulled my phone out, and I saw that Beverly Cleary had passed away, and I just started crying.
I'm emotional right now.
My husband, Terry, Dan, they're all like, what in the world? Like, what's the matter? I'm like, Beverly Cleary died. Like,
Who?
they're like, who? No, Terry knew I was talking about it. She was like, you're kidding me. And so I'm like, I have to order some Beverly Cleary books for the store. And they're like, you are kidding
You
me.
need a memorial service
Yeah, like
at the store.
I have to make a memorial for Beverly Cleary because her books were always. I read all of them, the Henry, and I read all of those when I was like 3rd, 4th grade.
Okay. Were you a Hardy Boys fan? Wasn't there like a Hardy Girl?
There's Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew, that's what it was.
No, I
Nancy
wasn't
Drew?
a mystery fan, and I'm still not. You know,
Okay.
we have so many people who love to read mysteries and the thrillers and things, and I mean, I will sometimes, but it's not really they just seem formulaic to me.
Okay.
You know, I'm like
Predictable.
Like, okay, I figured out what's going to happen.
Sure.
I don't want to read the rest of it. Like, okay, there's a mystery. It's like Scooby-Doo. I mean,
Love some Scooby-Doo though.
I love Scooby-Doo, but there's really no point in reading it.
Sure.
You know they're going to catch
They're
the
gonna
monster.
catch him, and he's gonna have a mask on, and
he's
these
gonna have-
meddling kids are gonna ruin
Exactly.
everything.
I mean, it's fun to watch, but to read, not as much.
Okay. So you're moving right along. Get out of school, go to college.
I went to UT Martin.
Did you?
I did.
Wow. What did you study there?
Elementary education.
Okay. So it was an easy transition into becoming so that was your plan, right? Become a teacher? Or is that
Yes.
okay? Just go get it for the heck of it.
No, I went to be a teacher, elementary education. I wanted to make a difference. I got there, and then I think I changed my major several times. I was going to be an art teacher. Thought about doing a business degree. Took a lot of theater classes. Really didn't know what I was going to do. So after 3 years, the 3rd year, I had enough, like it was decision-making time. Like, do you have enough classes here? You could get a degree in theater. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with that? Like, it's a lot of fun, but I'm not going to Broadway. I'm not really,
Right.
what do I do with that degree? Of course, I, grew up hearing do something that you're going to get paid for, you
Sure.
know, and not a family where, follow your dream.
Make that paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it on Broadway, so don't go to... Anyway, so that 3rd year, I made the decision to not go back because I felt like I was wasting time. Like, do I want to switch to business? Do I want to stay in education? What do I want to do? So I didn't go back to school. I got a job at Frost Arnett Company in downtown Nashville.
What is that?
It's a collection agency.
Okay. That sounds riveting.
I was an accounting clerk at Frost Arnett Company. One of my dad's best friends was the vice president of that company. And when I decided not to go back, my mom said, well, if you're not going back to school, you're going to pay rent. And I was like, pay rent to live here? I'll pay rent to live somewhere else.
Oh, sure.
So she's like, what are you going to do? And I called Rusty, my dad's friend, and said, do you have a job? And he said, let me see what I can find. So I was an accounting clerk
Wow.
at Frost Arnett, and they would... I started out actually as data entry, and I'd get these big stacks of checks, and you just enter the payments, go through and enter the payments, and then balance it at the end of the day, or at the end of each stack, and then at the end of the day, you'd make sure it all balanced, and I got promoted up to accounting clerk, and
What did you do as an accounting clerk?
they gave me a phone.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that was a big day.
It sounds
Because
like it.
I like to talk.
Yeah.
And I kept getting in trouble because we had all these cubicles. And so I would talk and they'd be like, you can't talk. I'm like, I can't not talk. What do you mean? What do you want me to do? And so, and I was like, well, it doesn't interfere with my work. And they're like, yeah, but it interferes with other people's work. Like, other people may not be able to concentrate. And I'm like, okay. So then
They're getting complaints with HR that there's this woman that just walks around the office and talks to everybody, and nobody's getting anything done.
I was sitting at my desk. I was sitting there doing my work. I would just talk. There was a girl there named Cindy that she and I would talk. And anyway, I remember they came in and decided, they said, we're going to move you to a different cubicle. And I got a phone in that cubicle. So then I could answer the phone and talk to the people. They would call in with questions about their bills or about, did these get paid? Like Vanderbilt Hospital was one of their biggest clients, and we were doing collection for them. So they would call all the time and be like, well, did this person pay, or did this person, and so I had to look it up and find out, and what's our balance, what do I need, they're trying to figure out how much they need to pay, or they're saying we paid this, and I'm looking in the computer to figure out why their payment doesn't match what we have, or all those kind of things.
Did you want to run your head through a wall at some point?
No, I really liked it.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was, I don't know,
wasn't your forever.
It wasn't my forever. I was young.
Sure. You're just testing things out. Too many people rush things these days. They're worried that they haven't found their life mission, at such a young age or whatever it may be. And I know me, I've worked so many odd jobs, construction for Habitat. I was a slush puppy. I worked for Slush Puppy. I was delivering their product and drinking their product and cleaning their machines. And was a DJ, still am a little bit, and sold pest control for a while.
Hey, I was a certified pest control technician for a while.
Were you?
Yeah.
So this comes after the collections agency?
Way after. I've done so many things.
Well, okay. So what's after the collections agency?
Oh, you really don't want to start down.
Give me some highlights of maybe your favorites.
Here's a funny one. So while I was working at the collection agency, because here I am, my mom says, you're going to pay rent. And I said, really? I'm going to find an apartment. So I'm living on my own in White Bluff in this cute little apartment, and decide I want to buy a vehicle. So I go and buy a Ford Bronco. Man, that was sweet.
Was it white?
Sweet. No, it was navy blue and silver.
Baby.
Yeah,
it's a good truck.
So
there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I loved it. Anyway, so I buy it. Well, then I have to pay an apartment and a vehicle. So Christmas time rolls around. I decided I would get a second job at Toys R Us. They were hiring seasonal employees. So I get the Toys R Us job and work the seasonal position. And at the end of the season, some of us, they said, we want to hire you full time, but you're going to have to fill out this application. So we're standing in the little customer service area filling out this application, and the guy next to me looks over and he goes, geez, how old are you? Because it has, how you have to fill out your prior employment. And I'm like, there's not enough room for all. Which ones do I put on there? And he's like, I thought you were like my age and you've already had all those jobs. I was like, yeah.
I like to do things.
Yeah. I worked in a library. I worked,
Okay.
I worked at Subway. I'd done a lot of different things, but
tried it all out.
I tried it all out. Yeah.
So then, when did the transition to becoming a certified teacher happen?
I was working at the collection agency, working at Toys R Us, and I met a guy in Nashville and started dating him, and he was a dud, and his best friend was not. So his best friend and I ended up getting married, and he was a musician, go figure, in Nashville. He was a keyboard player, very talented keyboard player. And we got married, and he decided that he did not want to be touring. He didn't want to be on the road because he was married, not a good idea to be traveling all over the country. He was playing, when we were dating, he played with Conway Twitty.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Tanya Tucker. So he was playing, but he was he's such an interesting guy. He's not a country music fan, but he's in Nashville, and back at that time it's
all there is.
It's all there was. And so he was getting all these great gigs with country music stars, but he really wanted to play jazz. Not so much with the jazz in Nashville. But talked to his agent, said, hey, I want a job can you find me something where I'm not having to travel? And they found him a job at the Whiskey River in Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
So he moved to Macon and lived there for 4 years. He had a full-time house band gig. They played every night, and he was home every day. So
that's awesome.
So that's what
we did. So did you get to meet some of these stars along the way that he was playing with before he...
No, because at that point, he's not touring with them. So, I met Big Mike, who was part of the house band at the Whiskey River, and some, up and coming, I guess, or wannabe up and coming people in Macon, Georgia. It wasn't like he was playing with any major stars at that point.
Sure.
But it was
But he was happy.
But he was happy, and he was, he knew he had work to do every night, and
cool.
Had a regular paycheck, and, depending on how many drinks Ernie had on Saturday night, you might get a bonus every week. You never know, how busy the
Keep
place was.
Keep on drinking, Ernie.
Yeah. Yeah. So
did you move to Georgia with him?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So we lived in Georgia for 4 years. And that's actually where my daughter was born.
Okay.
Was born in Florida. And while we were there, I worked at Toys R Us. I worked at Subway, which I had worked at Subway here. I got a job at Subway there. I worked at Toys R Us while I was there. I worked at a Miss Amy's gymnastics dance studio, and that's where the transition happened. So I was working there and made friends with one of the other teachers. I was teaching 3-year-olds how to do ballet.
Okay.
And one of the other teachers there was an education major at Georgia College, and we just got to talking, and that's where I kind of got, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should go finish my degree. And I did. I went to Milledgeville and applied to get in, transferred all my credits that could transfer, and a year later graduated with a degree in not elementary education. In Georgia, they had already transitioned, and I don't know if Tennessee even does this still, but you couldn't get a elementary degree. It was early, middle, secondary.
Okay.
So I got a degree in middle grades with a concentration in math and science.
What are those middle grades?
In Georgia, the middle grades were 3rd through 8th.
Okay.
In Tennessee, so then I was the first person in the state of Tennessee to have a middle grades licensure.
Wow.
And I know this because I worked at Oakmont Elementary. Janie Thomas, amazing principal, first principal I ever had, and love her dearly. But she, after my first year teaching 6th grade, is when 6th grade moved to the middle school. So it was either leave and go with the 6th grade or move down to a younger grade. And back then, the principals would bring you in and talk to you and, kind of, what do you want to do next year? Conversation. And she brought me in and she said, and a lot of the teachers left and went to the Discovery School because all of that happened.
That's right.
And she sat me down and she said, you signed that you would work here 3 years. You can do what you want, but you said you would work for me for 3 years. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm here.
Don't twist my arm too
But
hard.
I'm only certified for 4th through 8th because in Tennessee, when I got all it, because I had to take the Tennessee test and everything, and when they sent me my license, it was 4 through 8 instead of 3rd through 8. And she said, well, I really need you in 3rd grade. And I was like, okay, Janie, but I don't think I'm certified for 3rd grade. And she said, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I was like, okay. So she moved me. They had built onto the school. She moved me down to the 3rd grade hall. And I'm getting all set to teach 3rd grade. And Miss Caudill, do you know Miss Caudill?
Ed Caudill's wife.
Yeah. She calls and she's like, well, now, sweetie.
Oh, boy.
I hate to tell you this, but I don't think you're going to be able to teach 3rd grade. And I was like,
Was this like the day school was supposed to start?
it wasn't quite that late. I mean,
Okay.
it was late in the summer, but I was like, well, I was kind of afraid of that. She said, yeah, the state they're not going to certify. They're going to stick to it. And you have to teach 4 through 8. And I was like, oh.
Talk to the principal.
Talk to Janie. So Janie moved me to 5th grade. She moved somebody into 3rd grade, moved me to 5th grade. And I taught 5th grade for years. I don't know what I don't even remember what question you asked me, but
No, that's it. Yeah, we're just getting in the transition of you being a teacher. And so you taught 5th grade. What was your favorite part about teaching 5th graders? If there is any.
I mean, I loved all of it. I loved being with the kids. It was interesting when I got hired. When I was hired that year, it was late. I mean, I remember it was my birthday when she called, and my birthday is July 25th. So that's late in the summer. I mean, I was like sweating, like nobody's going to hire me. I mean, I knew Mr. Burnett wasn't going to hire me because he needed a 1st grade teacher. And I was like, no, can't teach kids how to read.
Not happening.
Not happening. I left that interview and thought, well, that was pointless. I don't even remember any of the other interviews. Well, I interviewed at White Bluff Elementary, and that was like, I was like this anomaly. They all wanted to interview me, and then when they found out I could only teach 4th through 8th grade, it's like, oh, well, we don't need 4th through 8th grade.
So they needed the younger group.
They
of
needed
people.
the younger, and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do.
And would that just have been a whole process for you to get certified?
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't have a degree in elementary education. I didn't have those. I hadn't taken any classes in how to teach reading.
Okay.
It was all content. I get the kids after they know how to read, not the early phonics and phonemic awareness and all of those things. I hadn't had any classes in that, so of course they didn't want me teaching.
Sure.
I mean,
this is the word, and this is how you say it.
And I remember when I interviewed with Mr. Burnett, and he asked me how I'd feel about teaching 1st grade. I'm like, that scares me to death. Like, I don't want to be responsible for teaching them how to read. Like, that's the most important thing. You can't do that. So I was like, well, I'm not getting that job. I just told him, no, I can't do that.
Not doing it.
Not doing that. Don't put that on me. So she calls me on my birthday, July 25th, and offers me the job. And the reason she did, and it was so late, was because of enrollment. So they had started a new thing at Oakmont that year where they were team teaching in 5th grade. So you had 2 teachers in the same classroom teaching. So one of the teachers would do some subjects, the other would do the other subjects, and they were in there all day together, team teaching. Their enrollment was so high that they had an extra class worth of kids that they didn't have a classroom for. So they had to hire another teacher for this extra group. So I was hired at the last minute to take this class of kids, the overflow kind of, because they didn't have enough team classrooms. And so I was the only self-contained teacher that year.
Really?
In the 5th grade.
So you had the first license
Yeah.
for that, and you were the first, or the only
I was
single teacher.
Yeah, I was the only 5th grade classroom that was one teacher in the room.
Did you have to do the work for 2 people, or?
I mean, I taught all the subjects,
Yeah.
and I loved that. I loved it. I mean, it wasn't long after that we were all team teaching, and but we didn't, not everybody was in the same classroom team teaching. I had a partner teacher, and the kids would go from room to room. And I mean, it's changed several different ways over the years, but my favorite years were those first years where it was me, it was my kids. We were honest, I mean, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, y'all. We're gonna figure this out together. Like,
hold on for the ride.
Like, yeah, because I had learned in Georgia, and I always felt like what I learned in college, I was several years ahead of what we were doing here.
Okay.
As far as the middle school concept. I mean, I learned the middle school concept, and then I came back here, and then several years later, we transitioned to the middle school concept. Does that make sense? Yeah. One of my professors he was like the father of the middle school concept, and had written all these articles. That was his thing. So I came here, and they're all talking about the Tim's method, and I'm like, what's that? I don't know what you're talking about. And it was just different, trying to figure out how to teach the way that I had learned. It felt like was the way to teach, and fit it in this box of the Tim's method that everybody else was using. So it was probably good that I was by myself.
Sure. Yeah. Doing your own thing.
Doing my own thing.
So you were blowing and going, teaching. So what was your time span there, kind of, as far as how many years you were teaching?
So I taught 5th grade I don't remember years anymore. Several years. It didn't take me long, though, because I was a math and science concentration, and that was what I was super excited about, teaching math and science. Didn't take me long to realize that if they can't read, can't really do math and science.
Sure.
Like, it's a little difficult to learn other things if you can't read the textbook. And so, and reading math is a literacy skill it's still reading. You have to learn how to read that book and read the technical writing kind of stuff. So I went to West Tennessee Writing Project and became certified as a teacher consultant in the writing project, and became a reading and writing teacher.
Okay. Was this like an extracurricular type class, or did it fit in with your math and science, the reading teacher part of it?
At that point I was on a team, so I taught the reading and I taught reading, writing, and I did math for a while, reading, writing, and math, and the other teacher taught science, social studies, and spelling, I think. But that's when I kind of transitioned to really enjoying the reading and the literature part of it and the writing stuff. Taught for several more years. A good friend of mine was the computer room teacher. She had taught 6th grade with me. When 6th grade moved, she moved to 5th grade, taught 5th grade with me for a while. Not with me, but she was in 5th grade, and then moved into the computer lab and was teaching kids keyboarding, how to use computers, different things in the computer lab. And at about the same time, we were both kind of like, ready to do something different.
Sure.
Like, what do we do? And so I had an interview at the middle school to move to middle school. And this was after TCAP one day, and she came in and she was like, you have an interview? She wasn't from here. So she always felt like I always had a leg up because I was from Dickson. And she's like, you have an interview? Can I go with you? And I was like, that's kind of awkward, but sure.
Come on.
She's like, I've never met Mr. Chandler. So she went with me, and I introduced them, and we both ended up getting a job at the middle school and moved to 8th grade.
That worked out nicely.
Yeah. We were on a team there. That was, when I look back on teaching, I loved I loved all of it. Don't get me wrong. But 6th grade that first year was great. I mean, first year of teaching is it's like a dream come true, I guess. And I was in a great school, great principal. It was just fun. It was all new, learning stuff, learning new things, teaching new things, getting to know the kids. It was great. So that's one of my highlights. And then being on the team that I was on at Dickson Middle School when I taught there, we took the middle school concept and really made it work.
Cool.
You know, Rachel, who works for me, was one of my students during that time.
Wow.
That I taught
Small
on that
town,
team. Mm-hmm.
for sure. Wow.
She met her husband in my class.
How about that? You're a little matchmaker.
Yeah, well, I didn't do that, but they did meet in my class. I mean, I feel like I, as a reading teacher, was able to build community in my classroom and create a safe place for those students. Because if you think about it, public education, you have every type of student, every type of child. You have representatives from every type of family and every demographic in the community is in your classroom, you know? So you have to figure out how to make all of them feel safe and important in that 45
Individually
minutes.
and as a whole.
Individually and as a whole. And that's what I enjoyed doing. You know, I started doing that with my 5th graders and 6th graders, and then trying to, like, it was easier because you had them all day long. You know, if you took them to the cafeteria and they got in trouble with the cafeteria monitor, you could sit down with the class and say, look, guys, what are you doing? You know, and you could take a little time, but when you have them 45 minutes, you don't have the time to do all of that. But if you have a team of teachers who takes that time to sit and talk through things and that's what we did that was magical. Greg Brees was on that team. Mr. Cochran, he was a retired Church of Christ pastor. Mary Lou Reed and Lisa Merle, she's still teaching at Dickson Middle School.
Okay.
It was just one of those teams. Like we would have meetings, and we didn't always agree on everything, but we agreed that whatever we did was for the benefit of our students. And we would fight it out during our planning time, come to an agreement, and then leave. And that's what we were doing, you know, and we believed in that. That's the only team that I think I have ever worked with where we took that philosophy of the kids never knew. Like if we could be fighting for an hour and a half and disagreeing on how we're going to do something, because we all had different opinions and different thoughts. But we'd get to the end of it, come to a conclusion, and the kids never knew that team didn't all agree on that from the beginning. That's what we were going to do. And it worked, because the kids knew that if they came to me and said, you know, I mean, they would, you know, if we had free time or whatever, and we'd set the rules and we knew ahead of time, what are all the things we need to know? You know, they couldn't come to me and get away with something that somebody else wasn't going to let them do. I mean, we all agreed, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is what's going to happen.
My daughter's going through that right now. Daddy says no, she's going to run straight to mama. Yeah. Going to be on the same page, though. Yeah. And then we can talk about it after, like, all right, how should we handle this, or how should we handle this, or whatever it may be. But, well, that's nice. Yeah. Wow.
It was just fantastic. It was magical to have a team of that many people that could work together so well.
Sure.
And get on the same page.
Well, I'm sure that provided you a lot of, obviously working with a team like that, and organizing and working, you know, with children as well too, and especially, you know, kind of specializing in the reading aspect of it. Kind of led you down the road to maybe feel somewhat prepared to kind of branch out on your own on that. Did you gain a little confidence as far as, transitioning from that, now we're teaching, and what sparked that interest to get out of the classroom, and then move into the bookstore?
Well, teaching has changed a lot over the years, and I always said when I graduated with my degree in education and became a teacher, I always had a path in mind that I thought was my calling. And it was. I mean, I was called to teach. I fully believe that was my calling. That was what I was meant to do. But I also knew that when it wasn't fun anymore, that I didn't need to be doing it.
Sure.
I had 2 professors at Georgia College. I called them the Doctors Martin because they were married and they both were professors at Georgia College. And I had classes with both of them, and they were amazing. But I'll never forget one of them, the female one. She taught a lesson. She told us, when you get to the point where you're not enjoying it, the students aren't going to enjoy it either. So you need to figure something out. And so they, for me, were like I wanted to be like them. Like, okay, so I'm going to do this until it's not fun anymore. And then I'm going to go back and become a college professor. And that's what I always thought I would do. Like, I would do it, and then I would become a professor. So I always wanted to get my master's and my PhD in education. That was my plan. I did apply at Vanderbilt, and I did not get accepted. I still think it's because I was pregnant when I applied.
Okay.
Yeah. I started the application process, and after starting the process, and you have this whole stuff that you have to, do to apply at Vanderbilt or to any college. I was applying for a master's program. I was trying to get a certain scholarship, and there were things I needed to do. I found out I was pregnant right after I said, I'm going to do this. And it was just long enough that I had to retake the SAT. And I did. Funny thing, the first time I took it, my scores in math would have qualified me for Vanderbilt.
Well.
Math and science. I mean, all of my scores would have. My reading was my lowest score. When I retook it and I didn't study enough for the math, I barely missed the qualifications to get into Vanderbilt on my score, my math score. My reading was, I had topped out on it. It would have been fine. And the letter was really nice. I think maybe they really meant that I should apply again, but I never did.
Okay.
It was like, well, that wasn't
meant to be.
And I mean, at this point now I have 3 kids. Actually, do I have 3 kids at that point? Yeah, I had 3 kids at that point. That was when I was pregnant with Thomas. And I really, wasn't, I don't know, it kind of burst my bubble.
Understood.
That's what I was going to do. And
it's like a reality check.
Yeah. So I didn't apply anywhere else. I had people tell me, well, just go somewhere else. But my dream was to go to Vanderbilt. I was going to go to Peabody and get my PhD eventually. And I was going to be a college professor. And so that door kind of shut. And I continued teaching. I was an instructional coach in Humphreys County at the time. And then I had a friend who was a principal here called me and said, hey, come back to Dickson and teach literature. So I went back into the classroom. And those were the hardest 3 years, probably, of my life, was being back in the classroom. And I don't really know why, but I knew for a while that this isn't really what I want to do. It's time for me to do something else. And so I decided it was time to do something else. So I got out of teaching, and as our friend Joan Ryle would say, I flittered around for a few years trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And that's when I became a pest control certified pest control
So were you selling
specialist.
or spraying or?
I was the office manager for Mosquito Authority.
Oh, cool. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know how we had crossed paths, or maybe you had told me that prior to. But it was just right over here. It was down. Was it down 70?
Yeah, it was down.
That's right.
Yep. When I first started, and then we moved out by the interstate in Pomona. But I was the office manager, and we were developing the training program and hiring technicians and stuff, and being a believer in education. I felt like anybody who worked there needed to be familiar with everything. Like, what are we doing? So I went and tested and got certified as a pest control technician.
It's not a very easy test when I took it. I mean, it's not terrible.
It wasn't that bad. But
not that bad. But I was more on the sales side.
I did make the highest score of anybody at Mosquito Authority.
Look at that. If only Vanderbilt would take that. You know,
I know. I mean,
so
come
nice.
on. I had the highest. Anyway, no.
So you flittered around and worked at Mosquito Authority. And then, so the bookstore was up and running. And who owned it prior to?
Laura Phi Hill and
That's
her
right.
sister Amy Jernigan.
Okay. And
Yep.
so were you a frequent customer or?
I was. And actually, so interesting enough, Mosquito Authority, office manager, helping my friend David with Mosquito Authority, where, I go to all these Mosquito Authority conventions or conferences, and at the yearly, motivational, rah-rah, woo, Mosquito Authority, yay.
Kill them bugs.
Yeah. And I leave thinking, I could do this. Let's buy a franchise. I'm not kidding.
I believe you. Those rah-rah conventions really put you in a
spot. They can really make you think, this is what I need to do, It was great. I mean, look at it. And it is actually...
They make a bunch of money doing it.
Yeah, and that company is actually... the CEO of Mosquito Authority... one thing I liked about him is he was a reader. Like, we went and when you got there was a table and you got free books. I need to hit them up.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah, anyway. But you had books, they give you a journal, and he came in and he tells his story, and his story is great. I mean, he started the company because he had a child who was allergic to mosquito bites, and they couldn't enjoy playing in their yard. So he starts thinking, what do we do? They've done citronella candles, they've done everything, and he comes up with this process of spraying the mosquito stuff on the undersides of the tree. Like, he researches mosquitoes, he does everything to learn how to protect his daughter from mosquitoes, and that's where the company came from.
Wow.
So, and he's just a great guy. So, yeah, rah-rah.
Rah-rah. We're going to do a
buy,
Mosquito Authority franchise.
The Jackson, Tennessee franchise is still available. You can do that. Or there was Knoxville. There was a franchise available in Knoxville at the time. And so my husband and I were looking at it and thinking, we could totally do this. We love East Tennessee. We could do Knoxville. We had the non-disclosure agreement and everything. We were in that 14-day period.
Oh, wow.
We were looking at becoming the next mosquito. I mean, we've met with them. They came, went to dinner with us, told us about how great it was, how much money we're going to make. I probably would be making a lot more money. But 14 days, I think we were probably on day 12. And we'd been talking, are we going to sign this? Taking the next step? What are we doing? Which one are we getting? Do we want Jackson? Do we want Knoxville? What do we want to do? How are we going to make this work? And we get up we're going to take our son, Thomas, to the Discovery Park in Union City, Tennessee. And my husband says, I don't know. I just keep thinking about this. Do you really want to kill mosquitoes? Because it's going to be me. I mean, he has a full-time job. He is
you'd be the one out there with the backpack spraying.
So I'm going to be the one building the company from the bottom. I mean, I'm certified. I can do it.
Sure.
Like, not like I haven't done it. He's like, you really want to kill mosquitoes for the rest of your life? What about all of your education? What about your degree and all the time you've spent learning how to be a teacher? You just want to leave all of that behind and kill mosquitoes. So we get in the car, we drive to Union City, and I get out my phone and start searching franchises. What are some other things I could do? And we find Challenge Island. Have you ever heard of it?
No clue.
So Challenge Island is a franchise out of Atlanta, a former teacher created. It's basically an after-school program where you go into the schools. A lot like what the Quest Center does. You know how he goes into schools and offers programming? Mm-hmm. A lot like that. But she would sell her after-school program to these schools. And she had come up with a formula and business model and everything. So I read about it and it sounds really good. Like, I could do this. Because my husband was like, what about a tutoring? I'm like, I am not going to tutor people. Mm-hmm. Not tutoring.
Not today. Nope.
Nope. I know what that... Anyway, so I wasn't going to tutor, but this sounded like fun. Like, this is the fun part of teaching. This is the getting kids to think, letting them, hands-on, doing the really fun things. So we go to Nashville to this franchise, thing. We go and meet with the CEO, and she tells us all about Challenge Island and how great it is. And I'm all pumped up. We leave. I'm like, I think we can do this. This would be great. I've got contacts in the schools. This is fantastic. She sends us the non-disclosure, and she sends us the lesson plans, and like, this is what you have to do. And I read the lesson plan in bed one night, and I was like, there's no way I can do this. And my husband's like, what? And I was like, this lesson plan is crap. Like, and I can't disclose because...
Sure.
But I was like, it reminded me of when you oversimplify something for younger kids. And then, when I taught 5th grade, this would happen all the time. Kids would come to me and say, but you can't start a sentence with the word because. Actually, you can. You just have to do it right, But they had been taught you can't. So then you have to unteach that. So that was kind of what I was seeing in these lesson plans, was a lot of oversimplification of big concepts.
Okay.
That, it was a STEM program, and my husband's a chemical engineer, and we looked at it and we're like, you can't simplify some things.
They're too complicated to simplify.
Right. And this isn't going to help. You're selling this as I'm going to help kids down the science track, but that's not science. That's just not science.
Sure.
So then decide we'll just start our own company.
Rah-rah.
Rah-rah. I can write lesson plans. I'll do all the things I loved doing as a teacher and bring them to my own, we'll put it all together. It was going to be the bright spot. One of these days, we're still going to have a bright spot at Reading Rock Books.
Oh, there we go.
But that's where I was. And I went into the store because Laura and I were friends. I had shopped there for years. And I went in to find out if she had space upstairs that I could rent for the bright spot. And we had talked, we started talking about it. Well, one day I had met with Ron Runyon and was looking at space at Mulberry Mill and had a spot picked out at Mulberry Mill. He and I talked, and he was like, oh yeah, we could build this out. I told him, my plan, my business plan, and was trying to find out, okay, what are the numbers? How much is this going to cost me to rent this? How many kids am I going to have in the program? Do a summer camp program? And I was looking at the numbers, and thought I could probably work this out, but it's going to be stressful. Like, because if you don't hit this many students, you've already signed a lease, and I don't want to be that stressed teacher who can't have fun because there are only 10 of you here this week.
Bring your friends.
Bring your friends. I don't want to have to do all of that. So I went to Laura to find out if she had a space upstairs that I might be a little more affordable. And when I asked her, she looked at me and said, "Why don't you buy the bookstore? And then you could do all that stuff here." And when she told me that, I had another one of those little split-second memory moments of myself sitting in the dorm lobby at Ellington Hall at UT Martin in one of those moments when I was trying to figure out what my major should be. And I'm talking to my friend Charlie, and he says, "Angela," and I could see it as clear as day in my mind. He says, "Angela, if you could do anything, what would you do?" And I said, "I would own a bookstore on Main Street."
Wow. How about that?
And she said that to me, and I saw that, and it was like
Twilight Zone almost.
It was like a Twilight Zone moment. Like, okay,
this is happening.
Like, how do I make this happen? Because in all these conversations Bill and I had been having, the one thing he kept saying is, no matter what we do, I don't want a business that has a lot of inventory.
So let's buy a business with a lot of inventory.
Let's buy a bookstore. So, I had that moment of, oh, wow, this is a God thing. Like, this is going to happen. And then I had how am I going to convince Bill that this is a good idea?
These books aren't inventory.
They're not inventory.
They're assets.
Like, how do you do that? I went and I called, like, I knew in the moment, like, this is meant to be. Like, I have to figure out how to make this happen. Like, this is totally meant to be. Laura and I had a conversation, and she had the same thing from her side. Like, she had this is who you sell it to moment. Like,
did she start that from the ground up?
She did.
Okay.
She did. And she, amazing. I can't say enough for what she did to build Reading Rock Books to where it was when I came in and she sold it to me. Like, she said at that time that God told her she built it for me. And I fully believe that.
That's crazy.
And there are a lot of things that went on, and it took us a long time to get through the process, and it wasn't always easy. I hope she still feels like she was meant to sell it to me. She moved to Texas, so we don't talk. There's no, but we just I don't have the opportunity to talk to her as much. I know it was hard for her to sell. It was like her baby, and for a long time it was hard for me because I knew it was her baby, and every time I changed something, it's like, oh, Laura's gonna not like that, kind of. So it was a little awkward there, but we both went into it knowing this is meant to happen. And for Bill to like get on board with it was another one of those. Sure. Wow.
Did the conversation go okay with him? Obviously it did, but
yeah. It was a long process, but even the initial, when I told him, he wasn't like, there's no way we're doing that. Like, he never, like, I think he knew too. This is where we're supposed to be. This is what's supposed to happen. There are a lot of times I don't run the business like he would.
Sure.
But he just kind of, he's supportive in his own way. Cool. You don't see him in the store all the time, but because he says it's your bookstore.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it without him.
Well.
So
you bought it.
And
you started putting your own spin on things. Obviously you're in a little bit of a challenging environment, given some other players, not necessarily in town, but just globally. What are some things, I guess, that you're doing at the bookstore? And obviously I'm a huge supporter of you, and I don't even want to know how much money I've spent there. But what are some little niche things that you're doing to combat, the Amazons or whatever else it may be? Dickson is a huge buy local, be local, so you couldn't have picked a better Main Street. Just plant your, or I guess jump into the roots that have been planted. There's a very supportive environment. But what are some things you're doing to kind of stay ahead of the game?
Well, we were talking about this morning. We had a team meeting, and the thing is, we don't sell books. I mean, we do. Mm-hmm. We sell books, but really, we're selling an experience. Cool. When you walk in our store, it's an experience. You have a personal bookseller if you want it. Now, some people don't really want that, but for those who do, we are creating that experience for you. We want to get to know our customers. Like, I don't know, there are times when I'm looking at catalogs and I'm like, oh, Michael Shepard would like this book. Mm-hmm. There might have been a few times when I've sent you a text or something. I try not to hound people, because I'm not.
I appreciate it, because every time I walk in, you're like, oh, wait, hold on, here's another book. I'm like, just throw it in there, we'll do it. And I do. I mean, and they're great books. I mean, I blow through them every month.
That's what I try to do. It's just like what I tried to do with my 8th grade classroom when I was teaching literature and teaching reading to 8th graders. Again, it's public school. A lot of those kids don't want to read. They don't think they want to read. A lot of them have never read an entire book. They're in 8th grade and they've never read a book from cover to cover.
Wow.
I know, because we did surveys at the beginning of the year to find that out. And I felt like it was my goal to put the right book in each child's hand.
Cool.
To create an environment where we could come together around books and literature. And I mean, it's just amazing what literature can do for people and how it can bring people together. So we try to create that in our store. We have every extreme of customer who comes in. And
from the crazy people like me to the people that...
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into it, but for me, books are for everyone.
Sure.
And I fully believe that we were commanded by Christ to love one another. That's the one thing he said to do. So when I hear that, I think I'm supposed to love one another. Every person who walks in my bookstore, I'm just called to love them. It's not on me to judge them or what they read or, what books they want. I'm just here to love them.
That's it, and help them.
And create an environment where they feel important, they feel loved, they feel welcome. And so I love it when people come in and say, your store is so welcoming, because that's what we're trying to create. A welcoming place where people can come. We can talk about books. If you are a reader, we can talk about the books you've read. If you're not, we can help you find a book that might be the right book for you, And that's how I talk to my team. Like, I tell my team, you have to be careful. You can't, you're salespeople, you're booksellers, but we can't just be about selling a book. Mm-hmm. Because if you put the wrong book in somebody's hands, they're not going to come back.
Sure.
They're going to think you don't get it. So I'd rather you not sell them a book than sell them the wrong book.
Yeah.
We can't just sell the book because it's the one that Penguin Random House is pushing. Now, if Penguin Random House is pushing it, we want to have it because they're advertising for us.
Yeah.
So we need to have it on the table. But just because they say it's the book everybody should read doesn't mean it's the book that everybody in Dickson should read.
Yeah.
And you have to know the books and know the people to figure that out.
There was a line. Have you seen the Peter Rabbit movie?
Yes.
Okay, so when they're in the little picnic playing the bananas game or whatever it is, and he asks him, or she asks him, what do you love about life besides being overly organized? And he said, I enjoy giving people what they want, even if they don't know they want it.
Yes.
You know, and that hit me too. I mean, it's a kids movie. It's a fantastic movie. It just came out with the second one, by the way. But that line to me, I really internalized that as well too. Is just knowing people, or at least being able to ask a couple questions, and then being like, boom, all right, let's give this a try. I think this will fit. That's an awesome way to run a business. You know, especially because you allow people the right to reserve to be surprised about things. They may be a little uncertain, but you know, they're trusting your advice. You know, given the information they gave you. Here's a book. Let's see if it fits.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. So that's what we do. Different.
Cool.
You know, I mean, Amazon will recommend books based on other books, but it's not the same as having a person.
It's not a personal touch.
Touch. And I mean, and we haven't read every book in the store. I've read about all the books. It's amazing to me how much work goes into curating the selection and knowing what I want to bring in and what I don't. And not that I mean, there are some things that I order just because, well, I know Reese this is gonna be a book club pick for her. So I don't even have to read it. Like, I don't know what's in it. Reese read it, and
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You know, and there are some of those that I haven't read that I just order based on other things. But I do look for books that have the hope and light that aren't filled with hatred and you know, that's what I try to bring in. It takes a lot of work to curate that selection and to find things that I know are going to, you know, I'm looking through the catalog that has 800 books in it for just one imprint.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, look, there's one that Michael Shepard might like. Get that one or what. I mean, and you think about who's going to read them and who might want those. And then also thinking about our community and, you know, we're the bookstore for the community. And that's an important task, I think, for me. I take that very seriously.
I can tell. You know, I mean, you just remodeled the store, and not that it was not aesthetically pleasing in the first place, but you took it to a whole new level. And you know, the checkout counter on the left, you know, is now kind of raised a little bit, so it adds a little bit of not necessarily authority, but it really does kind of help put the whole thing together. And I'm sure it cleared up some space for you to do some other things as well too. And you know, just big shout out to you as well, as far as really doing a great job with that store. I mean, I get on Amazon to find the book, and then I screenshot it and send you the picture. You know, that's just kind of how it goes. And
they have a great search engine.
Yeah, they do. They do have a great search engine. And then your lovely employees will text me and say, hey, your book's ready, you know, and then you just swing by and pick it up. And, you know, you've got more than just books, too. You've got cool shirts and kids' toys and notebooks as well, too, and chocolate candies and coffees.
Yeah. Hey, we have new caramels now.
That's what I'm talking about.
That you're going to love. I just realized, wait, those are perfect for Michael Shepard.
Yeah.
Yes. We now have the Olive and Sinclair duck fat caramels.
Oh, cool.
Have you tried those?
No.
Oh.
That sounds awesome.
You know, they were created in a duck blind.
How about it?
So
now we're talking. I will definitely have to come by and get some of those.
You'll have to come get them. They're really tasty.
Wow. So do you have any that you can divulge? Anything maybe that's the next step for the bookstore?
Just keep building community, bringing people together.
Cool.
Keep trying to do what we're doing even better. One of the things that I always love to do as a teacher is bringing, not that I ever was able to really do it very well, but bringing authors and readers together. You know, if I could create a connection and help the kids understand who the author was and why they wrote the book, there's just something magical there that happens to like help them understand that it was written by a person just like you. They're just another human with a message to put out into the world, and creating that connection and inspiring kids to write and tell their own stories and things. So one of the big things we try to do at the bookstore is bring readers and writers together, support our local authors, and also would love to bring in authors that aren't as local. We are very blessed in Tennessee. We have some great Tennessee authors. Jeff Zentner has been in the store. We've done some events with him. He's a award-winning YA author who lives in Nashville. Carolyn Dubois has written several novel and verse books. She lives in Nashville, and we're planning some events with her, bringing in some of those authors, but continuing to build that program so that, one of these days, I don't know who we might have hosting here at the library or somewhere that we're, having big time authors come in.
It's good for social media presence, to get you a lot of recognition doing it that way as well too. And it's nice to have that personal touch, because of all the books that I read, very rarely, besides Don Miguel Ruiz, I don't follow authors, and Jordan Peterson as well too. But it's nice to be able to read the book, and you can kind of get a feel, but then to meet that person, face to face, just adds a whole new level to it. And great photo ops, and it introduces them, and then they go back and share their story on that as well.
Jordan
too.
Peterson, we'll just say it. We'll have him here sometime.
Oh God, if you could
Wouldn't
do
that
that,
be great?
I would camp out in front of your store.
I don't know.
Even though the line may not be that long, I'm still camping when he shows up.
I'm still working on that whole learning how to get these big name authors to Dickson. But I do think that is one of the things that I am working on, improving our event programming.
Cool.
And getting some cool events and getting back to the Bright Spot idea, doing some writing camps for kids, doing some reading and writing camps, and workshops and things so that kids can come in and, I don't know where all that will go. Maybe do I have this one dream of having being able to take kids to the archives in Charlotte.
Oh, cool.
And do like a young historian camp.
Cool.
Where they're actually writing, looking at local history and writing an article, maybe have the, get the Dickson Genealogical and Historical Society involved. And
Justin Spurlock probably as well too, and fall in love with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so have actually publish a book, have the kids publish something that has Dickson history in it. So we're holding on to that and keeping our, as new people move into our community, I'm so glad they're moving here. Let's welcome them with open arms, but also how can we educate them where we came from? Like, what is this community about, and how do we hold on to those things that are important about our past? We don't want to hold on to the bad stuff.
Sure. But
we do want to hold on to our values and the good things that we bring forward into what we're doing now, Like so many people, Chris Gadd with naming his place the Furnace Brewery because of the furnaces that were here, and just those nods toward our history, I think are so important to help let people know who may be moving here from New York or California. Like, this is where we came from, and we want you here. You're welcome here, but you have to know where we came from too. Yeah, and it keeps the puzzle pieces together. Just like you said, those little nods right there are just so special. Especially Furnace as well too. That's how Dickson County started. Yeah. Okay, so I guess outside the bookstore, you are pretty involved in the community as well too. Sit on some boards and have sat on some boards previously. I know you were president of the leadership board prior to me taking over. What a wonderful program that was, or still is. It's blowing and going. It's a fantastic program, and what a blessing. I probably wouldn't own a bookstore if I hadn't gone through Leadership Dickson County. Corey Albert said, he attributes to that for him being the president of the chamber, and same for me. I was working at Dickson Insurance when I did it, but my network was slim to none at that point, and getting on leadership was the number one thing that kind of skyrocketed me really not only getting involved
in Dickson, but wanting to get involved in Dickson. It wasn't just like I fell into some things. There was, you really learned how things work, and if you vibe with something going on in the county, then all it does is approach somebody about, hey, I'd like to help out, or I'd like to play a role here, or whatever it may be, and they'll find you a spot and keep on moving.
Yes. I mean, I think it's such a valuable program. I wish everybody could go through Leadership Dickson County. Everybody should be able to do that. If there was and not to get on to any negatives, but there are some people in Dickson, I think, who feel like that there are people making decisions behind closed doors, and they're trying to keep people out, and that's just not true.
Sure.
I mean, are there decisions that are made behind closed doors?
There has to be.
There has to be.
Yeah.
There just has to be. But we have such great leadership in this county, and to be able to have the opportunity to meet some of those people, to listen to them, to hear their, what's going on with the education system, and to really learn the history and the different, like each of those classes is so important, to learn about our community and to see kind of behind the curtain, like what's going on, and get to know those people and find out it's not that they're friendly. They're great people. Mm-hmm. They would sit down and have a conversation with you just like they will anybody else. Go talk to them, Yeah. I wish I could just, when people start complaining about things, have you called that person?
Yeah. Have you done anything other than sit on Hip Dickson and...
Yeah, well, I wasn't gonna mention.
The spot. Oh, it's been mentioned before, and it'll be mentioned again. That is the demise of this county for the most part, and people can't seem to be nice. So
they can't seem to be nice, and they can't seem to understand that the people they're talking about, though, they're human beings too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They go home to their family every night, and they're doing the best they can.
Yep, we're all human.
We're all human. Let's just be kind to each other. And Leadership Dickson County, I think, is a great opportunity to learn. I mean, even me growing up here, I felt like going into that class that there were some things. I mean, you go through life with either a victim or a victor mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of the time. And if you allow yourself to be a victim and think, well, they're never going to let me do this, or this isn't going to happen, or that's where you're going to be.
Yep. Stuck in that spot.
You're going to be stuck in that spot. And to be able to have the opportunity to find out that they're just as human as I am. I can go talk to them whenever I want to. They're not making decisions because they don't like me and I'm their victim. Mm-hmm. It was just a great opportunity. Yeah. I feel like I've rambled way too long about this. It's a great program. Everybody should do it.
I want to do a podcast. Hopefully, maybe it could be like a short promo thing for leadership with somebody, and just really talk specifically about the program. I really think that would be beneficial in a good promo. Not that, I mean, hell, we had more applicants this past year than we've ever had, and we've got more money coming in from alumni. We've got more alumni participation. I mean, it's kind of doing a DDA type transition, or it did. It was prior to that, as far as like alumni participation being low and applications being low. But I think we had like 40 or 50 applications this year, which is huge. I mean, that's almost Middle Tennessee leadership numbers right there. And then the alumni almost doubled as far as paying alumni. So I really see it growing into something super special, and there's been some tweaks made that made it that special as well too. So
it's so exciting to see
it is
where it's going. And I know Brandon is a great customer of mine. Although COVID has, we haven't seen him in a while.
Okay,
I've been a little worried about him, but
you should text him a book recommendation.
I've done that a few times. He's like, yeah. But anyway, I know y'all have done a lot of work, and there have been some changes, and you've taken the opportunity that COVID provided to kind of build things from where they were, and I'm excited to see where
Yeah,
leadership
applications
Dickson
are
County
coming
is
out,
going.
I think, next month. I think they just had the facilitators meeting, so that should be coming out soon. You are also on the tourism committee, though, too, right?
I am on the tourism committee. Yes.
Need to build that up a little bit.
I know. It's
with the way Dickson is growing right now, I think it is absolutely vital to have a strong tourism board. So I've been to, I guess, 2 meetings so far since I've joined. The people on the board now are awesome. I think there's a representative from the Promised Land, and then Zach from the Clement Railroad Museum, and then, of course, Jessica is the chairman, and then there's you and me, and I've seen a list of some other people that are on there.
We have quite a few venues in town, and I hate to start listing them because I know I'll forget somebody, but there are, if I remember right, several of those business owners are on that committee as well. Because if you think about it, they're bringing people in for these destination weddings or weddings. Like, it's amazing to me how far people will come to get married in a barn. Mm-hmm. But we have some of the best barns in the country. We do. I was at a wedding in Kentucky over the weekend, and it was fantastic. But I was sitting there, sadly, looking, I was like, wow. Cactus Creek.
Yeah, right.
is so much nicer than this.
Those venues just keep popping up,
and they do, and they're beautiful. And
being this close to Nashville, I mean, you can't beat it.
You can't beat it. So that is a tourism. They're bringing people in, and those people are spending money in our community when they're here. So there are several of those business owners on that committee, or on that. I guess it's a committee, not a board. I can't remember who else. But speaking of the Clement Railroad Hotel Museum and Zach, they have a big event coming up this weekend, the Juneteenth event. I'm really super excited about Zach. Have you interviewed him yet? Because you should.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely. He's on the list for sure.
If you haven't been to the Clement Railroad Hotel Museum since he has been hired, you need to get off your butt and go, because he is amazing. Like, I'm pretty certain he probably has some kind of photographic memory. The tour, like, he's rewritten the script for the tour through the museum. Wow. It's a civil rights that he's applied for. He had talked about this at the tourism committee meeting. We're soon to be, I think it was approved by the state, if I remember right, a civil rights site in Tennessee. Which
I think it's only one of 4.
It's one
in the whole state.
Is it going to be the 4th one or the 5th one?
Yeah, it's still low single digits. Or maybe,
low single digits. And we're talking about, like, we're going to be on this list with, is it the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis? Mm-hmm. I mean, big time stuff.
It's a huge attribute
like, it's
to Dickson.
A huge attribute to Dickson. So, I mean, while we want to continue to look at the Clement family and the history that's there, and that it's a train museum, he has come into that museum and pulled that thread of civil rights through every display. Wow. He is phenomenal. Like, it amazed me.
Sounds like I need to gear up and get another tour.
You need to go and do the tour again. Like, he's rewritten the script that the docents use. They're working on the history and like, really, I mean, I worked at the museum, another one of my many jobs. And I love the museum. I loved it when I worked there. I fell in love with the building. I fell in love with the history. I fell in love with everything that the state of Tennessee did and put in place there for those rooms. But he is bringing life back into that building.
That's awesome.
Not that sounds like I thought it wasn't there, but
sometimes things can be background noise and they can get shaken up, and that is definitely a building that needs to be highlighted and preserved, and
the history.
A lot of foot traffic needs to go through there. I mean, it's a fantastic history.
Yeah. Everybody who has moved to Dickson County in the last 2 or 3 years, because we've had a ton of them, a ton of y'all. A ton of y'all have
Yeah,
moved
yeah,
here.
yeah.
And we love all of you. But go take a tour of the Clement Railroad Hotel Museum
Yeah.
and learn some of the history of our community and the civil rights movement in Tennessee and in our community. And listen to what Zach has to say. And everybody who has lived here their entire life and has never been to the Clement Railroad Hotel Museum, get off your butts and go.
Yeah.
Go. And this weekend you can get in for free because the NAACP is doing this Juneteenth event. It's a multiculturalism event. It's free to anyone. It's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come and celebrate civil rights and Juneteenth and all the things that are fantastic about our community at the Clement Railroad Hotel
Free
Museum.
event.
How about
You can't
that
beat
for
that.
a commercial for my favorite museum?
Very well said. Very well said.
And while you're downtown, stop
yeah.
in and pick up a book.
And get a book. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. And then you can take that book to Furnace and read it and order a pizza and go pick it up. And,
At Xander's. I mean,
and that's a day right there.
It is.
That's a full day of funness.
It's a full day of fun. I mean, you can have breakfast at House Blend,
Yes.
lunch at one of many
Yes.
lunch spots, depending on your taste.
Yep.
You want barbecue, you want pizza,
Yep.
you want a great burger, you want to go a little more fancy.
Yeah.
You know,
You
you
can do
can
whatever
do
you
it
wanna do.
all. You do whatever
Exactly.
you want to do. If you just want to have a glass of wine at lunch
Sure.
and maybe a
Bowl of pasta. or
bowl of
something.
pasta,
Yeah.
you can do that too.
I still haven't been to House of Vines. I mean, I've been, but I have not eaten there. And every time I try to go, it's just slam packed. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign. I just may need to pick a different time.
Do you like Alfredo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
Is it so good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll
And
try
it'll
it.
be enough for you to eat that night and the next day too. It's
Perfect.
just as good the second day. Delicious.
Cool.
I went to school with the person who cooks that, and man, she cook.
boy.
Yep.
You need to have her.
You want a story about Tawana?
Sure.
You should have Tawana. You should have Tawana.
I've had a couple people tell me that, and I've reached out to her about going to lunch and just kind of talking because I don't know her at all. I've met her in passing a couple times, but we interact on Facebook every now and then. And she seems very bright.
She is. She is bright and amazing. Which I always laugh because when I moved here in first grade, there used to be these big, huge bushes in front of the school building over at the old Oakmont, and we'd get yelled at because we'd go and run behind them and like hide behind them, and the teachers didn't want us back there. But Tawana Turner would chase you behind those bushes and kick you. I don't know why she didn't like me, but she didn't like me. And I always thought it was just me. But at our 10-year reunion, I'm telling this story and everybody's like, she did that to me too.
She's the town kicker.
She was the town bully.
Town kicker.
She was so mean when she was little, but she's.
I guess she's nice now.
She's completely the opposite of that now.
That's
now
so
she
awesome.
just wants to hug you and love on you. She's
Cool.
so bright and beautiful and wonderful, and she cooks amazing food. Her desserts are to die for. So if you haven't been to House of Vines, you should go.
I may have to just pick a 2:00 on a Wednesday or something when the crowd kind of
I'll
dies
go
down a
eat
little
with
bit.
you.
Let's do that.
Let's do it. They have
enjoy
great
that.
salads too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just have to get a buffet
Okay,
of food.
so we're still going through the day. So you can have
Yeah.
your lunch, then you can go do a little more shopping, and when you get
Yeah.
tired, you go to Furnace or House of Brews, or go
sit
to
down
Furnace and then House of Brews.
Whatever you
I
want to
mean,
do.
you can do whatever you want to do. There's so many things you can get in downtown Dickson.
And there's more to come too.
And, yeah.
The Mulberry Lanes is now about to be fully occupied. The post office is under remodel, so
I heard we're getting a pie shop, like a deli. I think I heard that on this podcast.
I think it's like a Middle Eastern twist bakery of
Bakery,
sorts.
yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I think that's what one of them is, and then there's a couple other that are going to be a good fit right there. So, we both know the Dickson's heading in an incredible direction, and
And if you don't want to eat heavy foods, you can have an all juice diet too.
Oh yeah,
Because
Be Good.
we have the Be Good Juice Company.
I have not been
which-
there yet either. What time is it? Yeah, I might go there. I may go there this afternoon. I need to go stop in
Yeah.
and see them. So, well, I think we both know Dickson is going in a very positive direction, and great people, great leadership, great businesses. So we're at an hour and a half right now.
And nobody really wants to
Who
listen to all
cares?
this rambling that I've done.
See, here's what I do is I just sit down and I record, and then I release the whole episode, but I'll I'll cut up. Like, I've been making little notes here about little things we've been talking about and the time that we talked about it, so I can just go back and I'll cut up little clips, and those tend to get I was looking yesterday at so as of now, we have had 2,500 views on my videos across all platforms. How about that?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, blew my mind. I was not ready. Actually, it's 2,800 because I told myself I would monetize it at 1,000, and I attempted that, and it didn't really work out the way I wanted to. And the ways that I could do it, I don't want to, because I have to advertise like my platform companies and stuff, and they pay like 50 cents, per 1,000 listens. So it's not, so anyway, I think I've got something structured now, with some people, which I can talk to you about if you'd like, but, we'll get into kind of how we, finish this thing with some questions that I know you've been somewhat preparing for, I guess. And I've added one in there. It's not a loop. It should be an easy one. So, that's
what I get for telling you I was preparing.
It's okay. Nobody gets by without these questions.
I really
and I've gone through and I've answered most of them myself. I like to listen to other people's answers because it gives me inspiration. But okay, we'll do the first one. I'll do one that should be hopefully somewhat easy. If you could recommend 3 books for people to have or to have read in their whole life, what would you think?
Michael.
It's just 3 books. It's simple.
Well, first of all, everybody should read more than 3 books.
I understood. But if you're going to read a whole list of books, if you could narrow it down to like, you got to just get these under your belt, what would they be?
Well, see, there's...
Don't you beat around the bush here. You beat around the bush.
It depends on the person. It really does. But everybody should read the Bible.
Okay. That's a good one.
I don't care if you're a Christian or not a Christian.
That's a good one.
You should read the Bible.
Yep.
I'm working on reading through it chronologically, and it's amazing to me the difference it makes when you read it chronologically. I think everybody should do that at least once in their life.
Okay.
Read the Bible chronologically so you're not reading from front to back, but you're reading the way it happened in time. So everybody should do that. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse.
Oh, yeah, which you brought me today. Thank you very much.
Can't
wait to dive into this one.
Book that, you can read it. It's a quick read. It's one that you want to have available. It's very Winnie the Pooh-esque, I would say, if you read Winnie the Pooh when you were younger, like I did. In fact, I sent it to my cousin as a thank you gift because I went and visited them, and she called yesterday, or my cousin's wife called, and she was like, I love this book. It is so beautiful. It reminds me of Winnie the Pooh. And I was like, exactly. But it's one of those books that if you're having a bad day, you can pick it up and open it up to a page and it'll brighten your day.
I like the way it's written too. It's handwritten in calligraphy almost. But
yes.
Cool. And the illustration is great as well.
He's an illustrator. He's a designer. He's an artist. He's not, they interviewed him on, Good Morning America or something. And it's just if you can find it and look him up. It's Charlie Mackey.
Okay.
Or Mackesy.
Mackesy, yeah.
Look him up and watch that interview, and you'll know that everybody should read this book. It's just I've been telling everybody, every house in Dickson should have this book.
Okay.
If you're a realtor,
read this book.
I can make you an offer on, how to get this book into all those homes of people who are buying.
We're talking like
housewarming gift. It's fantastic, and it comes in 2 colors now, so you can fit it in almost any decor.
Cool.
It's just a great little book that everybody should have. So that's my second one, and the third one, I don't know. I think finding the right book for each person is different. What is a book that that meant a lot to me may mean nothing to you.
Sure.
You know, there's one that both of us have read that we've talked about before. You mentioned Don Miguel Luis earlier. The Four Agreements is fantastic. I don't recommend it to everybody who walks in. I mean, that's one of the conversations we have at the store a lot is you can't recommend the same book to every customer.
Yeah.
Because what works for one person may not work for another.
Yeah.
But those two are books that I would give to anybody.
Cool.
I can't think of a third one right now.
Yeah, that Four Agreements is of all the not even really self-help books. They're more than that, but that laid a great foundation for me as far as just how to think about things and how you act as a person.
Yep.
What is the best piece of advice someone has ever given you?
Okay, so I did think about this one.
Okay.
I've gotten lots of pieces of advice, but when I bought the store, it was a little overwhelming because I bought a business that had been in business for 10 years. I've never owned a retail store before, and we were busy. Like, when I bought the store, there were periods of time when you could get things done because you didn't have a customer in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought the store, and our community is amazing. My friends and family are amazing. I mean, the people who are moving here are amazing. It's amazing how many people shop in my store. And I started feeling very overwhelmed because we were busy. And there's this local author. We did her book launch event. She moved here from Louisiana. She's amazing. She's probably one of the most poised people I've ever met. 1 month in, she tells people 1 month into you owning the store, she walked in and wanted to know if I would do a book launch event for her. Maybe she emailed me first. I don't know. And of course, because I had this goal of doing author events, I said yes. Did I know what I was doing? No. Did I tell her that? No. But we set up and we do her book launch. And it was great. It was fantastic. It was after that she was like, wait, you've only owned the store for a month? I wouldn't have guessed. But she became, I mean, she's our author. She went, I took her to Southern Festival of Books. She sold books there. I mean, she's fantastic. She has this great kids book, From A to Zoot. If you need a book for children that's character building. She was a judge. She was a teacher, then she was a lawyer, and she was a judge, Supreme Court judge in the state of Louisiana.
Wow.
She's amazing. Again, one of the most poised people I've ever met. She walks in the store one day and she's like, how's it going? And I was like, we've been busy. And it was one of those days that you've seen me when I'm like frazzled. I try not to be, but, and I said, we've been busy or something. And I said, too busy. And she says, stop. Do not say that. You own a business. You want to be busy. Mm-hmm. If you put that out into the universe, that you're too busy,
karma. The universe will respond.
The universe will respond, and what you want to be is busy. Mm-hmm. You need to pray for the grace to handle it.
That's nice. I like that.
I did too.
Yeah.
So I started praying for grace, and I stopped saying that I'm too busy because she's right. If you're not busy in business, you're not going to be in business for very long.
Right.
So that's the best advice I think I have, especially since buying a bookstore. That's the best business advice that I've been given.
I'm sure that helped out quite a bit as well, too.
Yeah.
Because every time you get busy, you're like, oh, hold on a minute.
Hold on.
This is good stuff here.
Yeah. This is what I want. Yeah. I want to be this busy. Lord, give me some grace. How do I handle this?
I can sleep later.
Like, how do I not look so frazzled? Give me grace. I want to be like, and I think about her because she is so poised. And I think, okay, I stand a little taller when I think about it. And I think, okay, I can handle this. God's not going to give me anything I can't handle, and handle with grace and move forward. And
That was one of Jordan Peterson's chapters in his first book or second book after Maps and Meaning was stand tall with your shoulders back. That just helps out significantly with a lot of things in life, just your poise. All right, last question. 3 words that describe you. What is it?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Can I read you the ones my husband gave me?
Yeah, I would love that.
I can't read all of them.
Could write a book with them.
Okay. I started asking everybody, like, what are when I
You've done some real footwork
Michael's,
on this
Michael's
one.
gonna ask me, what are 3 words? What? I don't know. How do other people see me? I mean, I would like to say that I'm kind and caring and passionate and all those things, but and that's what Bill was like, well, you're supposed to you come up with them. I was like, but I want to know what other people see in me. So, Michael, what are 3 words that you would use to describe me?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. Caring, which is highlighted throughout this podcast with you helping people find things that they want even though they don't know they want it. Hardworking, obviously, because what you're doing now is not easy, but being busy is a good thing. And I'm trying to think of, I've got an idea in my head, but a word to put my finger on it. Creative. That's it. That's a good one. Creative. Yeah, you just come up with some really neat ideas. And obviously, being a business owner, you have to be creative in order to make things work. Especially with the competition you've got out there, you've got to be do things a little differently than most people, and you can't just have a box store with books in it because people would be lost. So you've got to be creative in your approach on how to get the clients in the funnel and then have them funnel down to eventually purchasing a book, if not multiple.
And to get people to say, I need a book. Don't call Amazon. Call Angela.
Yeah. See, and that's a little cat. You should make T-shirts. Yeah. The other A.
The other
A.
A.
Yeah.
I like those. Those are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right off the.
Do you want me to read the ones that my husband said?
Sure.
I'm gonna narrow it down to the ones that He says I'm intelligent, which I appreciate. Driven, judgmental, which I am. That's not a good thing. Growing, extroverted, determined, cute, fun, insecure, caring, motherly, selfish, which I am. That's not.
Sometimes you have to be.
Yeah. Impatient. True. Feminine, silly, optimistic, experimental, youthful. And that's all I'm going to read to you.
Oh. You a little spicy after that?
Maybe.
I love it. I love it. Okay, cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for this hour and 52-minute conversation where all about Angela, all about the bookstore, all about your life.
I feel like I talked way too much about myself.
That's okay. Hey, it's not live, so nobody could really tune out. And my average listen on a full episode, I don't care if it's an hour or an hour and a half, is 5.5 minutes. So that's why I started cutting them up. Yeah. And those were getting full listens after that. But on a full episode, which is anywhere between an hour and a half, I've done a 2-hour one with Cole McRae.
I taught him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Cool. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's always been a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I actually taught him anything. He was in my class though.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I don't look at the metrics and judge myself. I look at them as a benchmark of sorts, like, okay, what's working, what's not working. Like, I don't care how many likes I get. I'm getting absolutely zero interaction on social media at the moment, which really don't care. It's I post them and I know people are listening to them, and even though I put a call for action out there, something's not working. Whatever, I'm not hurt, but so I'm trying to come up with ways to really. That's one of my next goals is to really hone in on the social media interaction, and I think my first plan of action on that is to do like a vote for a quarterly like a quarterly vote or maybe semi-annually on favorite episode. And I'm going to have to go back and cut up a lot of episodes. That way people don't have to sit and listen to the whole thing. They can just maybe listen to a clip of several and then pick, and just have a rah-rah. And then maybe that person, I don't know where it goes from there, but I think having people vote on something usually brings in a little traffic. Yeah. Who knows? I'm figuring this out as I go.
Well, when I bought the store, one of the things I wanted to do was a podcast.
Cool.
And I actually recorded 2 episodes.
Cool.
And they never made it out into the airwaves.
They're in the archives at the moment.
They're in the archives. But watching you go through this process and, like kind of seeing
guinea pig,
seeing what you're doing has inspired me. And I don't know. I thought, I wonder if I could rent studio time from Michael to do my podcast.
Sure.
I've
got I've got my old equipment too. That sounds great, and it's great for beginners. And this is, I'm not to say I'm an expert or even middle of the road. I'm still a beginner, but I made the commitment to buy what I bought just so I would do it. It wasn't too hefty of an investment. And then once I got through about 18 or 19 episodes, I was like, I'm going to do this for as long as I feel like doing it. So I might as well just buy my forever equipment.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And Zach's music hooked me up with most of it. And I appreciate the heck out of him. We worked together on some things. And
he's great.
Oh, yeah. He knew exactly what I needed. And I didn't even know I needed these little red things, these dynamite sticks. So these mics put out a lot of gain. Like, they've got a lot of power to them. And this can handle most of it. But this really makes the sound where they need to go. And he suggested it. So threw them in the bag and moved on with it. But yeah, that's
amazing.
good to hear that at least they're, I'm providing a little bit of inspiration for people.
Well, yeah, I listen to yours and I've enjoyed every episode. Hopefully I'm bringing your averages up because
Sure.
I do listen to.
Yeah, there's a core group of about 20 people that listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I do hear a lot of feedback from a lot of people. Hey, I listen to this, some of it. A lot of it's I listen to some. I need to go back and listen to more.
Right.
Whatever. Great. You got time. I know they're long, and that's why I cut them up. Like, here, I need to give you something that you can listen to in your car on the way from home to work and back and forth or whatever it may be. And if, on a weekend, if you're chilling, hanging out, drinking, and you want to just listen to a podcast, turn it on, you listen to the whole thing,
I love that. You're interviewing people, some people that I wouldn't have known, people that I do know, and I like learning about my own community, which is fantastic. So that's inspired me. Another thing that might be coming in the future is to do kind of the same thing, but interview readers.
Oh, cool.
Because what we have at the bookstore is a reading community.
So talk about books.
It's a community of readers and writers, and to start interviewing and just talk about books.
Cool.
Like, let's just sit down and talk about books. What have you been reading? And, we have a lot of readers who are really interesting people.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I've always wanted. I've asked you. I know I've asked you several times.
I can interview you about what are your last 3 books you read?
You want to hear about aliens and
I
government
do.
conspiracies? Yeah.
I really want to get inside your brain, Michael.
I keep asking. I'm like, Angela, I need to know the other people that are purchasing these books that I'm buying, and I want to start my own little therapy group here.
We did a matchmaking thing.
Did you?
Did I tell you this at the store one day? There was we have this one gentleman who comes in. He gets his coffee, he comes in, and he strolls around. And we talk about books. He buys books, whatever. Well, then we have this other guy that started coming in. And one day I was like, you really need to meet this guy, because you guys would have great conversations. And then we say this to both. I tell both of them this. And 3 days later, they're both in the coffee shop.
Uh-uh.
And they're like, wait, are you so-and-so?
You're the matchmaker.
Yeah. And they're like, they told me at the bookstore about you. And now they're like best friends.
No way. I can imagine that would be a really good place to meet somebody.
Yeah, they're like, because they read the same thing. I'm
Sure.
like, I don't know how to talk to you about aliens, Michael, but let me tell you about this other person over here that you really need to meet.
Cool. I would like that.
So,
You can
yeah.
matchmake me. I'm a married man, but I can talk about books.
Yeah, it's not, you don't have to
Have to
marry
go on a
the
date,
person.
yeah.
It's not dating, but that could be our podcast,
I like that.
Book matching.
Book matching. Cool.
Match people up.
You want to plug your socials before we sign off?
Sure. We're on Instagram at Reading Rock Books. We're on Facebook. I didn't think about it. I think we're The Reading. If you just search The Reading Rock, we'll come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we're on Twitter. And I have a TikTok, but I'm not very good at that.
Not yet. I'm not either.
Not yet.
I've told myself TikTok, their algorithms are crazy, crazy good. But I've made a commitment to myself I have a Your Vibes TikTok, and I haven't actually done any TikToks on the podcast, filmed anything, which a lot of podcasters do, but I haven't gotten into the film yet. So I'm just kind of doing deep thoughts and inspirational things. And I actually just adopted a one-eyed cat that was found behind your store.
Yeah.
Named him Fetty. And so I did some on that, but something every single day. Just put some content out there, and just get used to it.
I'll have to follow you.
Sure. It's Your Vibes Podcast. That's it.
TikTok is like
it's a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which is why I haven't done more on there. And anyway.
There's a lot going on, and I'm still learning it, and my videos out there are, poor, but they're getting better.
We have a few. I was like, we're going to do this, and we did a few, and then it just takes a lot of time. We've gone through some changes at the store. We don't have to talk about all this, but we had one bookseller who is at Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
Doing a summer shoot. Sarah Reagan, one of the Reagan family. Mm-hmm. She's amazing. I mean, how could she not be? But she started working in high school, then went off to college. She was going to come back. She came back last summer. This summer, she's going to Yellowstone to work for the summer. So cool. She couldn't come back. Grace Peters, who is a bookseller with us for a while, took a job at Disney World.
Oh, wow.
I can't imagine why she thought that would be more fun than reading rock books. But she's in Florida now. So trying to figure out how to get all the social media stuff and everything else done at the same time it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So our socials are kind of, I had a call the other day. When's she going to do another new book video? Like, yes, I'm going to do another new book video.
Yeah.
So
things take priority, and I know it's tough, but you're chugging right along and doing well, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
It's great talking to you.
As always, and tomorrow is trivia, so if you're feeling wild, you want to have hopefully another author doesn't die and you have a breakdown in the middle of the street, but
it wasn't in the middle of the street. We were in the car.
Oh, okay.
We were in the car.
That's good. It wasn't a public
cry. I cried over Beverly Cleary in the car.
Cool.
That was a great loss.
It is. Yeah.
It is. She was over 100 years old, though.
Wow. So the secret to living old is being an author, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I haven't written my first book yet, but it's going to happen.
Okay.
And I'm going to live to be 114.
I like it. Cool.
I still have plenty of time.
You do. Yeah, you're still in the first quarter of your life then. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Truly do appreciate the support. And be sure to like, share, follow on Facebook, Instagram. I do have a TikTok. Subscribe to YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so you can get those alerts. And until next time, you guys enjoy yourselves. Peace.